If you've ever dreamed of driving a car that looks like a supercar, feels like a go-kart, and is smaller than a smart car, then let me introduce you to the Autozam AZ-1, one of the most unique and fascinating K-cars ever built. Born out of Japan's golden era of automotive innovation, the AZ-1 was Mazda's attempt at creating a pint-sized exotic car for the masses. This is the story of how a tiny mid-engine gull-wing-doored sports car became a cult icon, despite being an absolute sales disaster. Japan in the 1980s was a technological playground. The economy was booming and car manufacturers were taking risks, pushing the boundaries of design and engineering. The K-car segment, a special class of small, tax-friendly vehicles in Japan, had exploded in popularity, especially for urban commuters. But what if someone made a K-car that felt like a Ferrari? This was the thinking behind Mazda's ambitious project, which would eventually become the Autozam AZ-1. But first, we need to rewind a bit. The AZ-1 didn't start as a Mazda project. In fact, its DNA is part Suzuki. In 1985, Suzuki developed the RS-1, a small mid-engine sports car prototype designed to push the limits of what a K-car could be. The RS-1 evolved into the RS-3, refining the concept further, but Suzuki wasn't convinced they could bring it to market profitably. At the same time, Mazda was experimenting with their own vision of a mid-engine K sports car called the AZ-550. This prototype, designed under Mazda's Autozam sub-brand, which specialized in small cars, came in several different forms. The Type A, the closest to what would become the AZ-1, with aggressive, supercar-like styling. The Type B A, curvier, softer-looking coupe. The Type C, a tiny Group C-style race car for the streets. Ultimately, the Type A design won, and after a lengthy development process, Mazda struck a deal with Suzuki to use their engine and parts, while Mazda would handle the production and design. And so, the Autozam AZ-1 was born. From a distance, the AZ-1 looks like a scaled-down Ferrari F40 mixed with a bit of a Lamborghini Diablo. It's wedge-shaped, sharp, and aggressive, despite being roughly 3 feet shorter than a Miata. Gull-wing doors, the AZ-1's most dramatic feature. These doors opened upwards like a Mercedes-Benz 300 SL or a McLaren F1, instantly making it one of the most exotic K cars ever made. Compact dimensions. At 3,295 mm, 129.7 inches, long and 1,395 mm, 54.9 inches wide, it was smaller than a first-gen Mini Cooper. Weight-saving materials. Mazda used lightweight plastic for the body panels to keep the weight down to just 720 kilograms, 1,587 pounds. Aerodynamic styling. A front chin spoiler, sculpted side skirts, and an aggressive rear end gave it the look of a baby race car. Mid-engine layout. Unlike most K cars, which were front-engine, front-wheel drive, the AZ-1 took a mid-engine, rear-wheel drive MR layout, just like a Ferrari or a Lotus Elise. The engine was mounted behind the seats, which gave it better weight distribution and handling characteristics. The fuel tank and spare tire were in the front, further balancing the weight. Despite its exotic looks, the AZ-1 had to abide by K-car regulations, which meant a tiny engine. Engine, Suzuki F6, a 657cc turbocharged inline, 3 power output, 64 GP at 6,500 revolutions per minute, max allowed for K cars. Torque, 85 nanometers, 63 lb-ft at 4,000 revolutions per minute transmission. 5-speed manual drivetrain, rear-wheel drive. While 64 GP doesn't sound like much, in a car weighing just 720 kilograms, it felt lively. The turbocharged engine gave it a nice mid-range boost, making it feel quicker than it actually was. 0 to 100 km per h, 0 to 62 miles per hour. Approximately 9.2 seconds. Top speed, 140 km per h, 87 miles per hour. Suspension and handling. What made the AZ-1 special wasn't straight-line speed, but its handling. Front suspension, McPherson struts. Rear suspension, strut-type independent suspension. Chassis, rigidity, stiffened for better cornering tires. 155/65 R13 at the front, 165/60 R14 at the rear with its low center of gravity, rear-wheel drive layout, and short wheelbase. The AZ-1 handled like a go-kart. Sharp, agile, and incredibly fun on tight roads. Despite all its incredible features, the AZ-1 was a commercial failure. Why? Too expensive. At 1,498,000 yen, $12,500 in 1992 USD, it was more expensive than a Mazda Miata, which was larger, faster, and more practical. Poor timing. The Japanese economy crashed in the early 1990s, making expensive niche cars harder to sell. Harsh ride. The stiff suspension and small cabin made it uncomfortable for daily driving. Limited cargo space. There was barely any room for luggage, making it impractical. Tough competition. The Honda Beat and Suzuki Cappuccino were more affordable and comfortable alternatives. Due to these issues, Mazda only sold 4,392 units before discontinuing the AZ-1 in 1994. Despite being a sales flop, the Autozam AZ-1 has since become a highly sought-after collector's car. JDM enthusiasts love it. Thanks to its rarity, unique looks, and mid-engine layout, the AZ-1 is now a dream car for fans of 90s Japanese cars. Imports to the US. Since the AZ-1 is now over 25 years old, it can be legally imported into the United States, making it a hot commodity among collectors. Aftermarket scene owners have modified their AZ-1S with bigger turbos, wide-body kits, and racing suspension, making them even more extreme. The Autozam AZ-1 was ahead of its time, a mid-engine, turbocharged, gull-wing-doored go-kart of a car that should have been a massive hit. Instead, it became a rare gem that enthusiasts cherish today. If you ever see one in the wild, consider yourself lucky. It's not just a K car, it's a tiny supercar legend.